I don't see us playing basketball. I don't see the players playing. You know, Stephen A., you mentioned when Orlando was the first, when the Milwaukee Bucks were the first team to say, hey, we're not going to play. I don't see how any other team, after that announcement was made, can then go back and just play. You are inevitably fighting for something so much exponentially bigger than yourself that it ultimately comes down to LeBron James, guys. You know, and this might sound unfair. This might be too much weight to put on his shoulders, but ultimately, I believe that LBJ was put here on this earth to carry this type of weight. His shoulders are broad enough to carry this weight with the NBA behind him and his brothers. I stand with these guys on not playing. And I say that because as we move forward, and I don't think we're going to have games today either, if you have games after this, you lose the momentum. You lose the purpose. And anybody that wants to combat that by saying, well, you know, we're going to cancel out the NBA as well, then I think you start to see next steps. If the NBA, if LeBron James decide that they don't want to play anymore and they start working with the players from the NFL, I think that's when it really starts to hit people differently. We already know that people out there have a cancel culture towards the NBA, right? You hear people talk about this by saying, well, look, ratings are down 20% for ESPN. Ratings are down 40% from TNT. But we know culturally that these players, the top tier, lead movements. If they can work collectively with NFL players to continue to lead that movement, then all these people that go out there and say, well, don't worry, there are other forms of entertainment, that's when it really starts to hit hard. And Stephen A., I go back to what you said because I was the first one, and I was on my own platform saying it, that you need to have actionable items. You need to tell us what policies, what different pieces or types of legislation do you want to be changed, and work with the owners collaboratively to change that. Now, the tough part about this is there's a timeline here. Well, right? Like that timeline, you can say, here are presentable, actionable items, but if you're not going to be able to get those things done in a day or 2 days or a week or even a month, that's going to take times. And I think that's going to be the frustrating part for players. I think you have to inevitably step away from it in order to really push that change.
Jay, let me interject by telling you I respectfully disagree with you, and I emphasize the word respectfully because I agree. I agree with most of what you're saying. But the outcome is what I have an issue with, and here's why. When we talk about these players, okay, we have to talk about, you and I totally agree. What are your actionable items? What's next? Let me do a little reporting here because obviously I was all over the story last night and reported that the Lakers and the Clippers ultimately voted not to play and all of this other stuff, right? So here's what transpires. They have a meeting. LeBron and these guys walk into the meeting, according to my sources. LeBron is very frustrated, A, because the Milwaukee Bucks operated unilaterally. They hadn't informed everybody of what they were going to do. Then everybody got on board, and then they did it. And then after they did it, and they had the meeting at 8 p.m. Eastern time, okay, and Jay, you can just nod your head if I'm wrong about anything. I'm cool with that. But they had the meeting about 8 p.m. Eastern time, and when they had the meeting, everybody was in a room with a bunch of voices, but there appeared to be no plan. And so LeBron was asking, what's the plan? And nobody had a plan. You also have to remember that it resonates profoundly with LeBron because LeBron has a plan. It's called more than a vote. It's called making sure to galvanize the vote to make sure that we feel we have our presence felt at the polls before and obviously come November 3rd. And so when you have something like that going on, anything that could get in the way of that, which is a profoundly important movement, is a big deal. Now we got to get to the owner's side for a second here in the league side. The league is making the argument, meaning the owners, the executives, everybody. Their argument is, when have we not stood with the players? Black Lives Matter. We're down with that. The owners have spoken up in unison in support of that. We have stood up, literally and figuratively, directly and through Commissioner Adam Silver, to express that we support what the players are doing. We reach this agreement, we come to the bubble. I had one executive tell me, quote, Doc Rivers' speech was profound. It resonated. It was very, very significant. And millions of people saw him. Would they have seen him had he just put up a selfie? in the offseason or when the games were not being played, and will it have resonated as loudly? Their answer was no. So we not only have helped with our finances, and we will continue to do so with the $300 million plus commitment we made to social justice causes, but we're also here for the players. We've always been contributing to various causes that are near and dear to them, and we will continue to do so. But in return, we are partners in this business. There is an agreement to move forward, and on top of it all, we're helping and facilitating them do just that. So I'm saying in closing, Jay, that it's important to have a plan if you're going to elect not to do it, because then if you don't have a plan, you don't know what you're going to do, and on top of it all, you've alienated a partner who believes they're your friend in this fight. And as a result of that, who knows what the fallout from that is going to be. We will stand with the players, whatever decision they make, once they take all things into consideration. But it is important that they take all things into consideration. Because the results
Stephen, I'd like to say something quick in response.
Just what they're seeing. We could come back, Max. We could come back, Max. We could come back.
We're going to wrap up.
Okay. I'm sorry, Jay. I just wanted to mention, we can come back to it next segment.
All right, cool. Sure. We'll wrap up.
Sure.
And Stephen A., sometimes the movement and the change is sparked by an action of impulse, spontaneity, passion. And,
Roz,
later today at 11 a.m. Eastern, now the NBA Board of Governors, owners, and the players separately are going to be meeting and work out a plan of action to explain to us. But because of that impulsive, passionable action, the players have our